one of the darkest chapters in human history, the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Spanning over 400 years, it saw the forced displacement of millions of Africans, reshaping the world in irreversible ways. Today, we're exploring the origins, the brutal realities, and the legacy of this inhumane trade. The transatlantic slave trade began in the 15th century as European powers sought to exploit Africa's wealth and labour. It was the Portuguese who first initiated contact along Africa's western coast, initially trading for gold, ivory, and other goods. But soon, European demand shifted toward human labour. By the 16th century, Spain, Portugal, England, France, and the Netherlands were heavily involved in transporting African captives across the Atlantic. The demand for slaves grew as European colonies in the Americas developed, particularly for labour-intensive crops like sugar, tobacco, and cotton. At the heart of the transatlantic slave trade was the Middle Passage, the harrowing journey from Africa to the Americas. Over 12 million Africans were forcibly transported, with an estimated 2 million dying en route due to unspeakable conditions. Africans were packed into cramped, disease-ridden spaces where they had little to no room to move. Many suffered from malnutrition, illness, and abuse. Those who survived endured the horrors of being treated as property upon reaching the New World. The impact on Africa was devastating. Some African leaders participated in the trade, exchanging captives for guns, textiles, and other goods. Upon arrival in the Americas, enslaved Africans were forced to work in brutal conditions. In the Caribbean and South America, they toiled in sugar plantations. In North America, they worked in cotton and tobacco fields. The labour of millions of enslaved Africans fueled the growth of European and American economies, contributing to the rise of global capitalism. Families were separated, cultures suppressed, and generations of Africans were denied their freedom. Enslaved Africans resisted in many ways, from revolts to preserving their cultural practices in secret, but the brutal system of slavery persisted for centuries. The fight against the transatlantic slave trade was long and arduous. Abolitionists, both black and white, worked tirelessly to end the inhumane practice. Leaders like Olaudah Equiano, a former enslaved African, and Frederick Douglass used their voices to expose the horrors of slavery and advocate for abolition. Resistance was not just ideological. Throughout the Americas, enslaved people fought back. The Haitian Revolution, led by Toussaint Louverture, became the first successful slave revolt, establishing Haiti as the first free black republic in 1804. In 1807, Britain passed the Abolition of the Slave Trade Act, marking the beginning of the end for the transatlantic trade. The United States followed in 1808, although slavery itself persisted for decades longer. The global movement to end slavery eventually triumphed, but the scars of this dark history remain. The transatlantic slave trade left a lasting legacy on Africa, the Americas, and Europe. It reshaped populations, economies, and cultures, while the African diaspora continues to contribute to global arts, music, and identity today. From the music of the Caribbean to the cultural traditions of Brazil and the African American civil rights movement, the descendants of enslaved Africans have made profound contributions to the world. While the scars of slavery remain, the strength and resilience of the African diaspora continue to shine through. The transatlantic slave trade is a story of immense suffering, but also of resistance, survival, and the enduring spirit of African people. As we reflect on this painful chapter in history, it is vital to remember not only the atrocities, but also the strength and contributions of those who endured and survived. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories from Africa's past and present.